Oh boy. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me today, this morning. Excuse me. All right, so let's get on with the 5x5s, get that out of the way, and then we'll jump right into the show. All right, Flown Grown, thank you for the 5x5. What's going on, everybody else? Good morning. I needed that fucking sleep. Holy shit, man. I woke up I woke up feeling way better than yesterday. All right, buy the book. Thank you for the 5x5. Legacy, K-Chair, Safety Band. Thank you for the 5x5. Appreciate it. Good morning, everybody else. Legacy, Patriot. It's weird how it comes in out of order. It doesn't come in the same order, which is strange. Water Tiger, CJ, don't call me sir. Thank you for the 5x5. Appreciate it. All right. Just trying to get some of the blood flowing. So I was on a assault bike. For those of you that, if you don't know what an assault bike is, it's hard to explain, but it's pretty much a stationary bike with moving arms or handles. You move it back and forward. That gets the blood going. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, Johnny 308, what's going on? So let's get into it today. Where do we start? So we're going to talk about, of course, the Iran bracing for Israel's retaliation, right? Their retaliation or retaliatory attack. Again, these people, like, they're warning one another what they're going to do next. It's just, again, a bit strange. I thought with war, you just attack, but each side keeps talking about how they're bracing for an attack or they're going to attack, and then they even go as far as to say where they're going to attack. You know, Israel made a comment the other day, 2 days ago, stating that they're going to sink their strike in the heart of Iran or some shit like that. I was like, why would you say that? Like, just go ahead and do it. Don't make it a show, which again is why the longer this goes on, the more I start thinking this is just one giant show to get people all riled up. Anyway, Iran is bracing for a retaliatory Israel attack on its territory or proxies, as the U.S. and European nations press Israel for a response that cools tensions caused by Tehran's weekend missile and drone assault. Iran said Wednesday it is ready for its air force for strikes, and its navy would be escorting commercial Iranian ships into the Red Sea. Tehran also began evacuating personnel from sites in Syria, where its Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has a large presence. Syrians and Iranian officials and advisors said. The IRGC and the Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah has reduced the presence of their senior officers in Syria, while mid-ranking officers are shifting from their original location in the country. Syrian security officials said. The Biden administration is encouraging Israel not to retaliate. Okay. And to instead be satisfied that the U.S. brokered alliance, including Israel and Arab nations, successfully repelled Iran's Saturday assault, which included more than 300 attack drones, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles. British and German foreign ministers were in Israel Wednesday to reinforce that message of de-escalation. Listen, I'm a firm believer that, what's his name? Netanyahu doesn't want any kind of peace, because there's been more than enough time to calm the fuck down and be like, all right, we gotta settle this down. Now, your original attack was the appropriate response when they went in October 7th. Again, if you believe that they went in on their own and attacked Israel, if you believe that, that was an appropriate response. And after that response was done, it should have been over with. But again, I think there's a little more behind the scenes than what we're being told. Maybe there was something that went down with Israel that we weren't told, Or maybe Israel is actually making a move on the West Bank to put that port in so that they can get the natural gas out of the what is it, out of the Red Sea. So either way, this that doesn't seem right, and the constant bombardment, it just doesn't make sense, especially being that a lot of the Hezbollah pulled, not Hezbollah, I forgot the name of that group, pulled back, and their attack has slowed down. Now Israel's using the "we are still missing hostages" excuse. Those hostages are dead. If you seriously think they're still alive, you're a fucking moron. In fact, there's a theory going around, and I say theory because, though it makes more sense, theories going around is that the terror group that took over Palestine, or Gaza rather, they don't have enough hostages, if at all any, to make any kind of deal. So that right there is telling, right? That all of them are dead. But again, that's the standing theory right now until they're proven wrong, which I don't think they are. I think if they had if they had hostages to give up, they would have given them up already. I think a lot of them are done for. Anyway, and maybe, and especially the kids, but that's a different story for a different day. Israel has said it intends to respond, but officials are undecided on the nature of the retaliation. The shape of its response has the potential to expand Israel's conflict in Gaza with Tehran-backed Palestinian group Hamas into a wider regional war. An outcome most sides appear eager to avoid, though fear are growing that Israel and Iran could misinterpret each other's intentions. I don't know how much more. Carolina says Hamas pulled out. I believe they don't have hostages. Yeah, I think that's the going theory right now, because a lot of people seem to believe. I don't believe Hamas would have given them up either. I think Hamas are as animalistic as everyone says they are. That doesn't exclude Israel from their bullshit and what they're doing. I do think, and if that's the case, capture all of Hamas and torture them just the same way. But anyway, I'm not I'm not a war gamer. I don't know any of these political games that they're playing, if at all they're playing. I know Israel's up to something, and what they're up to is not good. And it's probably going to come out in another year or two, especially if they start building a port off the coast of Gaza. Anyway, Biden administration encouraged Israel retaliation instead to be satisfied. Sorry, we read that before. Back response. All right. To encourage Israel to limit its response, the White House said Tuesday it would impose a series of economic sanctions on Iran, including on the IRGC and its missile and drone programs. Other sanctions could target its oil industry and its ability to raise government revenue. Now, I don't understand why the United States, if they are on Israel's side, why they didn't put these sanctions in ahead of time. I thought that would have been the move, to put sanctions on Iran. As soon as you knew Iran was backing Hamas when you knew they were backing Hamas, you should have automatically put sanctions on them to negate anything that follows next. But then, and you should also put sanctions on Israel. You should definitely, you said you don't want Israel to respond in kind, or you don't want Israel to get carried away. You should absolutely put sanctions on them. But again, I'm not a political leader. I'm just a fucking moron sitting in New York City live streaming. Let's see. Where are we? All right. In a sign, Israel is considering the U.S. and its allies' message. Israel officials assured Gulf states and other Arab countries on Monday that its response to Iran attack wouldn't endanger their security and would likely be limited in scope. The Wall Street Journal reported, Israel is likely to warn its Arab allies before it retaliates and could limit its attack on Iran-linked facilities in Syria, according to regional Arab officials. Already, Iran's IRGC has enacted emergency measures for its facilities across Syria. Some IRGC members have evacuated their bases in Syria, and others are doing so at night when Israel strikes are most likely to occur. Only a few soldiers are staying behind to defend arsenals. Iran-linked facilities in Syria are viewed by military experts as an option that would allow Israel to respond but avoid a spiral of tit-for-tat exchanges that lead to a broader configuration. Whatever. This is, again, they're telling us exactly where they're going to strike. They're sitting there going, we're going to hit bases in Syria and not Iran. It just doesn't. Buckeye, yes, I still talk to Bear. Why, is there something going on? And again, they're I'm trying to figure out the right words for this, because it's just all reads like bullshit. They're telling us exactly how they're going to respond, and not like they said that we could and we would. Why would you discuss with media how you're going to respond? Again, this tells me, guys, that this is not so much an open source, and that they're telling us, and they're telling Iran and Syria how they're going to respond, so that Iran and Syria could start formulating whether or not they want to retaliate against this. And then they're probably, Iran and Syria, it's going to, in a news clipping or an interview, they're going to be like, well, if they strike us here, we're going to do this. Just talk to each other directly. Stop putting this shit coded in the news. This is why I say this seems like bullshit. They are undoubtedly, guys, telling everyone how they're responding. I didn't know you did that in war. I didn't know you told your enemy exactly how you were going to respond. Thank you, Flo, J Flo. They're telegraphing their response. It's insane to me. They're like, hey guys, we're considering we're going to strike some facilities in Syria. And if you don't like that, well, we could do something a little better to your liking. I'd never heard of this shit before. This is insane. Anyway, it's insanity. That being said, the insanity gets worse here in the United States, in New York to be exact, because again, yesterday or the day before yesterday, there was an ungodly amount of traffic. Anyway, anti-Israel protesters are disturbing our way of life and have to stop causing chaos. This is like an opinion piece. Interrupting the dean's dinner at the University of California, Berkeley, blocking the Golden Gate Bridge and Brooklyn Bridge, shutting down Penn Station and Grand Central Terminal. Anti-Israel protesters think they are making a bold political statement, but they're really just making everyone mad. Rightfully so. Now, this is from the New York Post, and this is probably, undoubtedly, a liberal finally getting fed up with the bullshit, which I do enjoy. When liberals have had enough and they start writing opinion pieces like this is comical, because we knew this was going to happen. Because, again, I told you yesterday, I mentioned it yesterday, that these protesters, guys, they think that they're doing some shit. They think they're, like, being real motherfuckers about it. They're like, yeah, man, we protested. We feel good about ourselves. You're not doing a fucking thing. You're upsetting everybody else, and your message is getting lost in the anger you're creating for everybody else. By making them late for work, by making them late for their flight, by making them late for their dinner at a university, or just getting home. Just getting home. Everybody wants to get home. Nobody wants to sit in traffic because you're stupid bullshit. Anyway, do you think I care? Screamed one angry California motorist trapped on the Golden Gate Bridge after getting out of his car to confront the activists, showing how little he thinks of their malignant cause. According to the Pew Research Center, only 22% of Americans believe Hamas' reasons for fighting Israel are in any way valid, while just 5% believe Iran-funded radical terrorist organization brutal October 7 assault on Israel was acceptable. 5%. All right. It boggles the mind that the infantile, narcissistic, blocking our nation's road and bridges can possibly imagine that even Americans concerned with humanitarian issues in Gaza would feel in any way good about mass disruption of their daily routine, including commutes to work and school, and accommodate a political message that strikes most of us as pro-terrorist. Exactly. That's the crazy shit about it. It's like RoboCop. You have 48 hours before we strike. As the whole world, especially our nation's already beleaguered commuters have now seen, by imposing their hateful views on our right to go about our business in peace, they are also explicitly anti-American. If you have any doubts about that, check out the viral video showing malicious Chicago activists training their cohorts on how to chant "Death to America" as well as "Death to Israel" in person, smack dab in the middle of America's heartland. Enough is enough. We need to fight back. No, they didn't say that. I wrote that in. The blue cities have let the morons get away with too much for too long. I said that before. I said that a few times. The Democratic cities are allowing the morons and giving this a sense of entitlement. So these people are protesting. They are getting arrested, or rather, they're getting, I don't want to say dragged off the bridge. They're getting walked off the bridge. They're going to court, and then they're getting released back out into the world to do the same shit over again. When you do not have any hefty fines, and you do not have any hefty punishments, this happens. This behavior happens because, again, they're going into jail and they're sitting there going, oh, that's okay. That's fine. I'm just going to get hit with a bullshit charge. I'll be out in a couple of hours. It'll be all good. Now, switching gears from all of that. Okay, no, sorry. Lefty wrist slap. So this is in San Francisco. After San Francisco Police Department arrested 80 protesters who blocked the San Francisco Oakland Bay Bridge in demands a Gaza ceasefire, the city prosecutor let them off if they promised to do 5 hours of community service. Politicians there and in Chicago and New York should instead look to Florida, where such nonsense is not permitted. In Miami-Dade County, 7 miscreants who blocked the Biscayne Boulevard, were booked on charges that will lead to jail time. Everywhere else, they should be kicked from the river to the sea. Nice. But again, in Florida, they're not playing with this bullshit. So they blocked a boulevard, not even a bridge. And a boulevard, you can get around that. You can get around that. Bridges, you can't. Once you're on the bridge, you're stuck. And people normally don't go in reverse to clear it. So they, in Miami, are charging people, and they're going to see jail time. This is going to allow less people to do so. Because the problem is, guys, the protesters here in like New York and California, their daily lives are not disrupted. Because they go to jail, they do all of a few hours, they get out, and then they move right the fuck on. And then the next day they do the same shit because they only spent a couple of hours in jail. Whereas, if they were hit with a heftier fine and or actual jail time, they would be less likely to do this because they'd be like, I don't want to spend a week or two or a month in jail. Nobody wants to spend a month in jail, and not for a bullshit cause like this. So anyway, moving right along, we're gonna switch gears entirely. So I just found out about this case. I'm reading the aftermath of the case, so bear with me. But womb raider Clarissa Figueroa sentenced to 50 years for murdering a teen and cutting out the baby from her body. The Chicago woman known as the Womb Raider, who murdered a pregnant teenager and cut the unborn baby from her womb, was sentenced to 50 years behind bars for her disturbing crime. Clarissa Figueroa, who's 51, by the way, when she did this shit, or rather she was 50, she might have been 49 when she did this shit, received a sentence in Cook County courtroom Tuesday. She pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and a 2019 killing. So she was 46. She was 46 when she did this. Again, still too old, but it gets better. Actually, it gets better with her bullshit reasoning. Before entering a plea agreement, Figueroa sat in the courtroom and listened to the heartbroken Ocha Lopez family, who said the punishment will never be enough. Yes, 50 years is not enough, though she is 51 years old. She will never see the light of day. That's pretty much life in prison for her. Yanni Lopez, Ocha Lopez's husband and father of their older son, of the baby killed by the mother and daughter duo, wrote, "Your punishment will never be enough because my son will never be able to hug his mother ever again. I lost my family. That will always stay with me," the grieving father said in tears outside the courtroom following the sentence. Along with the help of her daughter, Desiree Figueroa, who's 29 now, the two murderous duo lured the young mother to the Figueroa family's home with the promise of free clothes for her unborn baby. Never, ever go into somebody's home with the promise of free anything. A free anything winds up not being a good idea. Anyway, Ocha Lopez had been to the home April 1st of 2019 and left unharmed. However, on April 23rd, a few days later, the deadly pair carried out their sinister plot. Desiree had been showing the 9-month-old pregnant teen mom photo albums of her adult brother who had recently died. While viewing the album, Clarissa, the lead, came up behind the mother and strangled her to death with a cable, according to prosecutors. The Clarissa then ordered her daughter to get out the butcher's knife and cut the baby out of Mrs. Lopez's womb. After they removed the child, the two wrapped the slain mother's body in a plastic bag, dumped her in a garbage can outside their home with the help of the daughter. How do you, and I'm not siding with these people, but how do you go about this way? Dumping a body in a garbage can? What are we fucking? Clearly, they're amateurs at this shit. And again, I'm not advocating for it, but everything they did, it just led to them being caught. Again, after they removed the child, they wrapped the Clarissa then called 911, trying to pass the baby off as her own. Again, this is the 46-year-old. At the time, she was 46. And told operators that the newborn was not breathing. So now, they cut the baby out. The baby wasn't breathing. They didn't perform any life-saving measures to get the baby breathing again. This is where it gets entirely fucked up. Mrs. Lopez's son died 2 months later after suffering severe brain injury. They weren't able to get the baby breathing in time. The baby was pretty much a vegetable anyway, so the baby wasn't going to survive. These two morons killed the mother, essentially killed the baby. They should have been charged with double homicide, but they weren't. They were only charged with the murder of the mother, Miss Lopez. The police uncovered the unsettling... I hate when I do that. Okay. The police uncovered the unsettling bed of lies after investigating Mr. Lopez's report of his wife gone missing. Discovering the mother had been missing after Discovering the mother had gone missing after visiting Figueroa's home, the police began suspecting foul play was involved. 2 weeks later, the police found Ocha Lopez's car parked near the mother and daughter's Chicago home. Detectives discovered her decomposing body inside a trash container, which was behind the home. The DNA test later confirmed the baby Clarissa was trying to pass off as the newborn of Ocha Lopez's. The authorities said not long after Clarissa's adult son died of natural causes, she began lying to her family that she was pregnant despite having her fallopian tubes tied years earlier. I guess that was after her oldest son, or her youngest son, the one that just passed away. For months, she posted ultrasounds and photos of a nursery on her Facebook page while plotting to acquire a new baby by any means necessary. Investigators found that Clarissa had been in connection with Osha Lopez on Facebook page for pregnancy women since March 2019. Desiree Figueroa was given a lighter sentence of 30 years. Again, her life is over because she's already 30 years old, if I'm not mistaken. I think she's 30 years old now, 36 or some shit like that. So 30 years, she's 29. She's 29 now, so let's just say she's 30. She'll be out when she's 60. Maybe she'll learn her. I don't know. So anyway, she was given the lighter sentence because she snitched on her mother. Apparently, as they put it, she testified against her mother as part of a plea deal. Clarissa's boyfriend, the 51-year-old, the boyfriend Peter, who helped clean up the crime scene, was sentenced to 4 years in prison last year after pleading guilty to concealing the murder. So a third person was involved in that. Such is life. This is not the first time we've heard of it. This is just more of, I don't know what people are thinking because she lost her oldest son. She said, let me get a new, I don't know. I don't know how that works in people's minds. I just think that's insanity. Now, I have to show you guys this because I was amazed when I read about this yesterday. In fact, amazed is not the word. I was a little taken back. I was going to visit this area, but they seem to have shut it down. All right, so let me give it a little bit of context. There's a block in New York City, I think I told you about this. This is in Queens, Roosevelt Avenue to be exact, near 91st Street. Turned into a giant open-air flea market, rather. So with that, guys, a stretch of Jackson Heights deteriorated into illegal immigrant shopping district, also prostitution. An unchecked open-air market where everything from women to stolen goods can be had. Roosevelt Avenue near 91st Street is littered daily with migrant vendors hawking goods they ripped from other shopkeepers just steps away from them while prostituting nearby. And frustrated merchants and residents said they're helpless to do anything about it. Now, that's bullshit. That is absolute bullshit. If these people are stealing stolen goods, you can steal the stolen goods from the people who stole the stolen goods, if that makes sense. People seem to think that there's nothing they can do about it. There's absolutely everything you could do about it. You could take back what is stolen. That being said, guys, the prostitution and the open-air market have been shut down temporarily. I was going to make a trip today real quick over to Roosevelt, and then I read in the newspaper today that yesterday they cleaned up what they could. They're going to be back, so I'll wait a couple days. But I have to show you how they set, man, you guys are not going to believe this shit. This, guys, is how they were selling their stolen goods. They were stealing the shit from Home Depot or Lowe's, and they were setting this up as such. I never in my life, guys, would have seen or thought that they would be this brazen enough to sell stolen merchandise like this. This is a fucking store. And obviously it's all stolen. Clearly it is. Now I know some of you guys who own tools, you're like, where can I get this shit from? I would have been stealing this shit from them. I would have been taking it back. And now taking it back from them and doing what? I would have probably given it back to Lowe's or Home Depot. Though it's already written off. This is what it looks like. I never in my life would have thought a million years I'd see some shit like this. And that's just one. Then they have this set up. on the streets. This is a separate vendor, not the same, separate vendor selling stolen shit, guys. Look at all of this shit that they stole. Between both pictures, look at all of this shit they stole. This is insanity. I mean, look at this. This doesn't make any sense. This is just an absorbent amount of fucking shit that they stole. That means, guys, they're going every day into a Lowe's or Home Depot or hell, even a hardware shop and just taking the shit. Tony goes, I love buying stuff off the truck, though. It was cool that at one point, you're like, fuck corporations, but this is insanity, man. Seriously. And they're probably selling this shit for dirty ass cheap, $5-10 perhaps. I don't know. But this is crazy. Yeah, buy the book. This is third world country shit. These people came here illegally, stealing, obviously, illegally, and they're getting away with it. Now, from my understanding, no arrests were made. But that was the craziest shit I've ever seen. No arrests were made. They just took their shit with them. The cops just took all of their shit. I'm like, how do you not arrest these people for stolen shit? Because it's hard to prove that it's stolen? No, it isn't. You take all of the gear that they sold, you check it against what was stolen from Lowe's and or Home Depot, and then you go to the videos of the guys who stole it. Now, maybe they didn't steal it, but they were stealing stolen merchandise. Insanity, guys. Insanity. It's real. Okay, so Roosevelt Island near 91st Street is littered with daily migrant vendors hawking. We read this shit. Frustrated Metro. We read it. All right. Relentless. Milton Mayer says, who manages Me Pharmacia, which is a pharmacy, on the avenue. You should see it on Saturday. It is so heavy, you can't even stop on the sidewalk. There are a lot of doctor offices right around the corner, and my customers don't even want to get dropped off. I am not faulting the police, Reyes added. They will come by, they will pick up a few of them, but as soon as the police pull away, they start moving back. 20 minutes later, they're all set up again like nothing ever happened. Migrant peddlers lay out stolen merchandise for resale on a steep discount, with items as being as benign as mouthwash and diapers and formula spread out on a blanket or beach towel on the sidewalk. The ill-gotten goods are stored in a suitcase, packed into a van, parked across the street, hauled out for display starting in the morning. With one crooked vendor, I hate when that happens. Okay, with one crooked vendor even wheeling up the items inside a stolen Target shopping cart during one business day this week. They scattered when a reporter or photographer from the Post showed up, mistaking the news crew for police officers, but were back in business as soon as they passed. The sex workers openly cruise the streets as older madams sit nearby and point out potential Johns as they pass by. One law enforcement source blamed soft on crime laws, we all know this already, that severely limit what cops can do and cut low-level, non-violent offenders loose once they go to court. Again, guys, we all know that this is soft on crime shit, and the mayor can change this soft on crime approach. He keeps blaming Hochul. Hochul's going to be voted out. Hochul thinks for some reason this election that she's going to do good and she's going to come back and it'll all be, no, bitch, no. You two-bit whore. You're not coming back. You allow the city to tank. You picked a DA who's going after Trump as if he raped a small child. The Alvin Braggs is setting up another case against Trump, and he's going after him like he fucking banged the kid. Meanwhile, we got legitimate crime going on right before our eyes in the city, and he's doing nothing about that. So anyway, that's the beauty of living in New York City. You can get expensive shit for free and cheap. In Jackson Heights, hookers now share the landscape with shoplifting migrants who mob rants and ransack local retailers. then brazenly sell their stolen merchandise for 20 or 30% less just steps away from the store. They are stealing, Francisco Oporta said, a security guard at Lot Less, which a Lot Less is like a dollar store, if you will. And he told the Post, they rip it out of the boxes, they put it in our, but it's ours. Sorry, they rip it out of the boxes, but it's ours. You can see it. It's a brand name, but they are selling it as it's used, and it's our stuff. Oh, no shit. Okay, that makes more sense now. They're selling it as used. Anyway, customers constantly complain, but shopkeepers call 311, and little's being done. Clearly, little's being done. Anyway, New York City's falling apart. And just a quick mention, guys, for those who knew about Gordon Ramsay's pub or restaurant having squatters live in it. The squatters were kicked out. Some did stay behind. I didn't know that this is such a thing, but there's a title called Professional Squatters who took over Gordon Ramsay's $16 million pub, were forced out after they were served papers, while part of the resistance seemingly chose to stay behind inside the restaurant. That's where you get a couple of hard-hitting dudes. You go in there, you rip them out, you break some ankles, you break some knees, and then they won't be back in there. But his restaurant is going to be restored. Gordon Ramsay hasn't been involved in this. It's been his legal team and the people that ran the restaurant. So, of course, when you see Gordon Ramsay's name attached to it, that doesn't mean he's dealing with this at all. He's letting his legal team deal with it. He's got other restaurants to run. He's got one in Dubai. He's got a couple he's got one in Dubai, maybe a couple, but he's got a bunch in Vegas. He's busy elsewhere. He doesn't have to deal with this bullshit. So other than that, guys, they had 20-something squatters in that restaurant. They were all but a couple kicked out. So I think 5 stayed behind or some shit like that. Anyway, so that is going to be resolved on its own. London does have a squatter's rights. It's actually against the squatters and for the person who owns the property. This was done back in 2012. I didn't know that. I thought they had a loose squatter's rights like we do here in New York. New York is going to change. New York City is going to change fairly soon. They're going to clamp down on London. They're clamping down in Florida as far as squatters' rights go. So a lot of places are changing it because they see the writing on the walls. Things are just going to get worse, inherently worse when it comes to squatters. And then it might be to a point, guys, where they just take it over and be like, fuck you. There's also that. Members of the Camden Art Cafe, self-described as Autonomous Cafe in the heart of Camden, announced they received the papers on Tuesday. And this is crazy. They took over the cafe and made it an autonomous zone. Whatever, man. This is just lackadaisical shit everywhere around the world, guys. This is not just here in the United States. This is everywhere around the world. It's insane. It's insane that people are getting away with this shit. But let me get into this real quick. All right. So professional squatters who took over the Gordon Ramsay London restaurant were forced out after being served papers. All right. Members of the Camden Art Cafe, self-described autonomous cafe in the heart of Camden, announced that they received paper on Tuesday, which ordered them to leave the celebrities Chef York and Albany Gastropub. We are sad to announce, this is coming from the squatters. We are sad to announce the Camden Art Collective have left the building after being served papers yesterday, the group announced on their Instagram. We wish those left in the building the best of luck in their endeavors. We hope to be part of a community again soon. These people took over a pub, and it had the audacity to say, we are sad to announce you took over somebody's fucking place. I don't understand this shit. I do not understand this. The people do nothing around here. And yeah, I agree. Vigilancy is needed. It's insane. I'm wondering if I would have went to Roosevelt Ave and took the shit that was taken from the stores, would I have been arrested for stealing from the thieves? So that's definitely a theory I want to test out. Anyway, probably won't vote well for me, but whatever. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. So the group of 20-something squatters went by the pseudonym Gordon, referring to the iconic chef in an attempt to protect their identity, according to The Independent, which is a newspaper overseas. The group claimed to have occupied the British restaurant as a form of protest for the victim of gentrification and the country's high-speed railway, the H2S. We aim to open our doors regularly to anyone and everyone, particularly the people of Camden who have been victim of gentrification and parasitic projects like the HS2. They said that wrong the first time. Sorry. The group said. So this group are trying to be freedom fighters, or Robin Hoodish, if you will. The squatters were forced out to cancel their cafe, allegedly set up to feed the homeless after they were served papers. Apologies to everyone who was going to come along today. The papers served the cafe canceled. They're trying to play the victim card as they fucking break the law. Granted, I understand the whole gentrification argument. I do understand that. We're seeing it in Harlem. We've seen it multiple times. Matter of fact, the biggest gentrification was done to small businesses. There was a case called David versus Goliath. That was a New York City case when the Trade Center was being built. So before the Trade Center went up, there were a lot of local small businesses and residents in that area. When they put the Trade Center up, there was a case called David versus Goliath, and it was big corporations versus smaller corporations, smaller businesses. Obviously, the smaller businesses lost. Some small businesses were able to stay on the outskirts of that area, and some of them even became prosperous because they were restaurants, and a lot of the people that occupied the building went to those restaurants to eat for lunch. So I do understand gentrification. I wholeheartedly understand it. There's just possibly a better way of going after it. And if there isn't a better way of going after it, maybe this might have been the heads-up move. I don't know. But nonetheless, guys, they did leave after they were called out on, which was good on them. They got they got the papers. They were like, all right, we're getting kicked out, and they left. That was that. So I do understand the whole gentrification thing. I understand the argument against it. But the people who stand their ground are normally not the people being affected by the gentrification. But whatever. Anyway. And yeah, Red Scout, I would agree with you there. Right, where's Patrick Swayze when you need him? Yeah, but anyway, we shall see where this goes. The pub is temporarily closed while he was finalizing a new lease, and during the handover period, the gang of professional squatters came in and took over the restaurant. So the restaurant was his. It was closed down. It wasn't open to the public. So a lot of places missed that point. I thought it was open to the public, but whatever. It wasn't open to the public. It was abandoned at the time, and they were going to reopen it under different circumstances. But whatever. So, a 2012 law, this is in the UK, made squatting a criminal offense in England and Wales as long as it was done inside residential buildings. If it was done inside of residential buildings, you were going to be hit with a heavy fine and jail time. The maximum penalty was 6 months imprisonment or a fine. That's done in a residential building. This was a commercial space. That's why they were able to get away with it. But of course, again, the legal team handled it. It solved this issue, and they were all kicked out except a few. But those few are going to be dragged out, believe it or not. Anyway, guys, that's it for the midweek report. Sorry for being on late. I was just trying to get a lot of shit out of the way before I get to start it. Now I have to make my travels or start my day, if you will. So I will see a lot of you guys either Thursday or Friday. Thursday or Friday for the doubleheader on there. We will see if I get overtime tonight, then obviously you won't see me. No, wait. If I get overtime Thursday night, you won't see me Thursday night. Other than that, guys, I will see you guys Thursday or Friday for the doubleheader. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for dealing with my bullshit, and I will see you guys later.